podcast is part of the Untamed Conversations, where we will be conversing with some very special guests about wow and wacky topics around science, technology, engineering, and math. Also, to celebrate All That is Untamed, we will be giving out attractive prizes worth up to $80 throughout the event. Yes, $80. All you need to do is to share your Untamed Challenge experiences and hashtag UntamedSG on your social media pages to extend the chance to win these prizes. So, in today's Untamed conversation on valuable lessons from life in Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO in short, we are very happy to have Ms Jaya Nair, former scientist and engineering in ISRO, to share with us about her valuable experiences working in the organization and its relevance to our everyday lives and work. Students and working adults, stay tuned to learn more from Ms Jaya on valuable tips when it comes to work and project. So, Ms Jaya, thanks for joining us this evening. How are you?
Thank you. Fine. Hi, good evening. Happy to be here and thank you for that introduction.
I see. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining us in our Untamed Conversations. It's our honor to have you with us. So, how have you been this during this period of time?
Yeah, it's been going on. Things are somehow managing. How are you? How are the things going in Antime?
I see. I guess for Untamed, all of us are getting a bit busy. We have quite a few sessions with some other partners already. And today, I think our sharing is going to be a little bit different from the rest. So we're actually getting something a little bit more personal from our guest today, which is actually your working experiences that I think most of us, working adults or even students, right, can actually learn from. And I heard you have a set of slides that you'll be sharing with us.
Yes. Yes. So shall I start by sharing my screen now? Just a
Yes,
moment.
please, Miss Jaya.
I'll start. So first
Please.
of all, as Mr. Tan was saying, this is going to be a little different. That even though I will be, this is titled as Indian Space Program, what I thought I will share with you all today is not any specific missions or any specific projects that I have been involved in during my years in the Indian Space Program or ISRO, as we have just mentioned, but actually to focus on lives in the Indian Space Program. Sort of when you look back, certain patterns will emerge, isn't it? So those patterns, some of them I thought will be useful and interesting to all of you. Those I would like to share with you. Now, there are a couple more things that I would like to mention before I start. One thing is that when I look at these patterns, I find that some of them actually are not about a particular discipline. Like I am from a computer science background, but it's not about the particular discipline or it's not about a particular organization even. It, I feel that those are the patterns which may be applicable to other streams of life also. That's why I'm thinking of sharing them with you. And also, I'll be targeting more on the people who are actually starting out on the path, the young professionals and the students. And the more experienced among you perhaps will be comparing notes with me, I hope. Okay, so let's start. So, but before going into those patterns, I would like to first talk to the students who are actually trying to get into the STEM field, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics field. So one question that is generally asked is, what are the special characteristics or the any particular attitudes that are essential for being a good STEM student? Now, looking back, I would say that one of the important factors is curiosity. If you like to ask about anything, what it is and how it is working, that is curiosity. But we know that children in general are naturally very curious. Not only children, even animals are very curious, isn't it? So if you like to ask questions like what, why, when, how, why, and why not about different things, whatever you come across, then that is definitely will be of your advantage to you. Now, another skill that will be of use is skills in mathematics, a little bit in mathematical abilities, the mathematical skills. Now, this is because mathematics is the language of science and technology. But at the same time, we are not saying that you need to have a passion for mathematics. No, nothing like that. It's only that you need to have an affinity for numbers. Like you are not sort of put off by numbers, then that is sufficient. And another important aspect for any STEM student is logical thinking. So now what is logical thinking? That is, you go from point A to point B only if there is a reason to do that. You you apply your reasoning skills and think things through in your brain, isn't it? So you should be comfortable working not only with materials, I mean tangential things, but also about thinking things through in your mind in a logical manner. That will be of great advantage to you. And creativity and innovation is another important skill that is very much required in science and technology. Now, it's required in every field, but here it is of prime importance. Now, usually, everybody is naturally creative also. I mean, children are naturally creative. Every human being is creative. And one other point is that it is actually knowledge that will help to ignite that spark of creativity in you. When you have sufficient knowledge in any particular area, then your innovative mind starts working. That is also there. Then another important skill is the attention to detail, in which you look at things not only from the very broad perspective, but you want to go inside and see what are the intricate nitty-gritties that are there inside, which makes the thing work the way it works. So that is another thing. And then there are other skills as such like concentration, discipline, etc. And there are some other skills which we will be seeing as we go by. Okay. So in addition to these basic tips, there are some other tips which I would like to share with the students at the end of my presentation. So stay, don't go away, okay, students. So now we will go across to uh, the different patterns that I was talking to you about. I have actually combined these patterns into different aspects, different areas, and so on. Some of the patterns. Now, first we will address something that is very fundamental, that is problem solving. All the jobs in science and engineering are basically about problem solving. You are solving problems. Now, what could be the problems? The problem could be what should be the design of the new system that I require, or how much load a particular structure can withstand, or it could be what is the particular algorithm that I must use for my software. Which electronic circuit should I design to control something? Or what is the best way in which the data can be organized? So these are all problems. What a science and technology professional does is apply the principles of science and technology to solve such problems. And why? In order to make life better in some way. So your solutions must have some sort of positive impact on life and society and so on. So when you do that, there are different things. I would like to just bring out four different aspects as such. There are different steps in problem solving, as you can see, but I would like to focus on the first step, which is defining the problem. And that is very important, that you look at the problem from different perspectives, try to get as much detail as possible so that you're very clear as to what is that particular problem that you wish to solve. What is the thing that you need to innovate? What is that which you need to modify and so on? So that is very important. And also to address the point of why you should do that. I mean, that's also very important. The second point is that now there are different solutions to any problem. There are different ways in which you can solve. But it's my experience that it is the most simple and straightforward solution that will do the work. That seems to be the best. Why? Because that simple solution will be the one which is most easy to implement as well as to maintain over a long period of time for other people to learn about it and so on. You can also add other things into your simple solution, make it very complex. But then it turns out that it will cost you more in terms of the long-term maintenance issues. Then another tip that I would like to share is that whenever you do a solution, whenever you try to find out a solution, look for anything that can be reused. Now, here I would like to share one of my experiences, that I was working in an area where different computerized systems are needed in order to actually help in the development of the rocket systems like navigation systems. Now, all of these different missions all involve something called user interface, the way the user will interface with the system, with the computerized system. Now, the user interface code is something which was actually developed as a separate standalone module. It turned out that that was one design decision which actually helped us to save a lot of time in the long run, because that was one module which could be just like that reused in all the missions years onwards. So that is one example for that. There are many such aspects which anybody can find. It could be a particular design aspect, or it could be even be your experience, something that you can reuse. That you should always attempt to do that. And the last tip that I would like to share is that, as far as possible, try to do it right the first time itself. Usually, there will be you will be tempted to only solve the bare essential minimum, and then think that afterwards I will add whatever modifications that I would like to do. Now, that later usually never comes. And also, it's very difficult to change something that is working. So the problem is that it will be very difficult to do those whatever things that you want to do later. So try to do it right the first time. So now we'll go on to the next aspect as such, which is about designing for change. Now, when you do a particular system or one design, you may think that I am solving this particular problem, which is manifesting now for a requirement that is there now. But usually it turns out that uh, many systems, whatever you develop, usually the time during which it will be applicable transcends your wildest imagination. It tends to go on for a longer period of time. And so the one thing that you can be sure of is that there will be changes. Changes are ahead of you. So when that is there, that may be because the requirements have changed, or you need to you wish to implement something so that to improve something, or it could be that the technology has changed. Technology has become obsolete. Now you look at many areas in data communication protocols, or in computer, or in the data storage technologies. I mean, over the years, so much of change has happened. That is applicable everywhere, which means that the change ahead is a sure sign for any system. So then what are the different tips for that? The number one, the natural thing is that your design should be something so that it should be very easy to incorporate changes. That is what I mean by saying design for change. So when you do that, you will not find yourself again and again solving the same problem. Your hands and your mind will be free so that you can address other problems. Okay. So here again, I would like to bring forward one story from my own work experience. I remember that in the very beginning, when around the first project maybe that I had to start in ISRO itself, there was one data analysis software which had to be designed. So when I was assigned this task, which was for that particular mission which was going on at that time, somebody very senior told me, "Oh, data analysis software, then you will be writing, you will be working on this 10 years afterwards." And I was very surprised. And why? This is only for this short period of time, isn't it? But it turns out that that is a common requirement which will be there in every mission. Okay. So then it will have to be done for whatever mission that is come later also. And it turns out that he was correct. Even after 10 years, the same that module was being used. But then, fortunately, we could design it for change in such a way that it was easier to incorporate the changes across missions in the core module itself. And because of that, lots of time was actually spared. It was really fortunate in that way. The second point is that not to compromise. That is, when you make your design, make sure that it is being done with the best, whatever with the best ways of building reliability, testing, making sure that it works, and so on. I mean, no compromises should be there, so that then it becomes a solid design which can be reused and can stand the test of time. And another important need is, it's very common sense, but it's something sometimes rare to see, that you should document everything. That is also something that will help you to change as time goes by and be accommodative of whatever requirements that come. Now let's move ahead and move on to what's called systems thinking. Now we know that systems thinking is very common, and it's being applied to many areas. Now, essentially, the core thinking is that whatever you design, you should look at it as a system. Now, think about a car that is shown. You can think about the car all together as one system. Think of it in terms of its functionality. But at the same time, when you look inside, you see that it's made up of so many parts, isn't it? Each of it is a subsystem, but that itself is another system. And every big system is made up of all these smaller systems which have to work together. And the way a particular subsystem works independently may be different from the way it will work when it is in the actual working scenario in which it is surrounded by the other systems to which it must interface. So this thinking that of looking at your problem and your solution in the both macro as well as micro details is very important. And there, when you apply, another thing is that the interfaces are very crucial. How A and B talk to each other, that should be very seamlessly, they should be doing that. If one subsystem talks in terms of centimeters and the other expects that it is in inches, that itself is a grave error which can lead to mission failure. So the interfaces have to be very simple and intuitive. That is the best thing. And naturally, following with this is that in any system, each and every part is equally important. Now, think about the rocket itself as an example. You may think that the big rocket structures, the engines, the fuel, the computer that is controlling, these are very important. They are definitely very important. But I would say that even each nut and bolt is very important because even if one nut misbehaves, it doesn't function correctly, the whole mission may be lost. So each and everything is important. There is another thing which naturally follows from the system thinking point of view. And when you think about it, this is one aspect which is applicable everywhere, isn't it? Not only in your working experience, in your personal life also, isn't it? Many things work together to make the person that you are. Let's move forward. So naturally, the next aspect that we will look at is teamwork. So when there are subsystems and systems, we see that teams are actually working together. Actually, in science and technology, when you think about it, other than a very small percentage of problems, every other project, it will be teams that are working together. Consider again the rocket itself. You can see that there are different disciplines that are at work there. It's a very multidisciplinary project. You have the mechanical engineer who will be working in the big rocket structures. Then you have the chemical engineer who is developing the fuels that is going into each of the rocket engines. Then there is the electronic engineer who is actually building the electronic circuits that are driving the control systems in the rocket. The computer engineer who is generating the computer software that is driving the rocket system, and so on. So it's a very multidisciplinary area of work. And even if you take one particular system, you will find that there are people of different roles who are actually working together. There is the person who designs, the designer. Then there is the person who actually does the fabrication, the testing, the quality control, or the integration, and so on. So there are people of different disciplines, people of different roles. They are all working together as a team. So when you have a team, there is a defined role for you which you have to do by yourself. But otherwise, you are working in the team, and that has to be done. There are many aspects that go into making very good teamwork. But I would like to just point out three different patterns. One is the need to put the organizations or the team's goal first before your own selfish goals, your own selfish interest. The team's goal is the of the highest priority. Another is communication. Of course, it's always trust that in team there has to be seamless and transparent and trustworthy communication across the different team members. And a third point I would like to stress is that in a team, everybody has to be an ethical player. That is very important. That entails many things, isn't it? It means you must give credit where it is due. You must always think in terms of the other person's point of view. Then you have to be trustworthy, and then of course you have to trust also. So all those things are very important to make very teams that are very efficient and effective. Let's go move forward. So this is one aspect, integrity, which we already saw when we are actually talking about the teams as such. But I would like to just stress it once more because it is very important in every work areas, especially in science and technology. There also it's very important. Now, what does it mean? It means many things, isn't it? If you have to be a person of integrity, it means many things: morals, principles, accountability, core values, fairness, honesty. Many things are there. Basically, it is discipline and an affinity for truth and transparency, we can say. Now, but here I would like to highlight integrity with respect to one particular aspect, which is about mistakes. Now, you know that it's very natural for errors or mistakes to creep into your design. As you develop anything, there can be possibility for errors and mistakes. Now, here the thing is that technology is a very harsh judge. You cannot escape from any error. You cannot just like that pushing it under the carpet. You cannot do that. You cannot just like that, scratch it out. You cannot shift the blame. I mean, you will not be able to do that in the long run. There will be a day when the error will manifest and you will have to confront it. So there, then the next step is to just find the issue, own up, and then solve it. So when I say that the technology is very harsh judge, it also means that it forgets very fast. Because once you find the issue and solve it, there ends the matter. I mean, people just will go on to the next task at hand. I mean, it will not be dwelt upon. So that is the best way to apply integrity with respect to the mistakes and solving them. And actually, when you think about it, when we talked about teamwork, we said that success belongs to everybody, isn't it? In a team, the success belongs to everybody. So similarly, failures also belongs to everybody. So when you think that the failures belong to everybody, then it becomes easier to actually own up to mistakes, be transparent about that, and then of course to solve. Because then it naturally follows that everybody is actually working together and moving forward together. So let's move on to another aspect, which is about technical decision making. Now, suppose you want to buy a car. So you will have several requirements, isn't it? What is the type of model that you wish to buy? Whether you wish to buy a sports car or a larger, a family wagon kind of a vehicle, or what is the type of leg space that you require? What are the price ranges that you can tolerate, and so on. So you will have a checklist, and you will approach the different models with your checklist, and then tick it up, and then finally, naturally, you will go into the decision making. It's a mechanical process. But technical decision making is not such a mechanical process. Now let's think what could be the kind of decisions in technical decision making. It could be among the many design options, which is the design that you want to pursue. Which technology should I use? Or it could be that whether I should buy the technology or I should develop it in house. And in a big project, suppose some things are not quite up to the mark, then whether I should go forward or not, or which way to go forward, these are the kinds of decisions, some of the decisions that a technical decision maker has to adopt. So the problem is that everything is not black and white. There may be many things that are gray, there may be things that are uncertain. And so then what happens is that there are risks that you have to take. So you should think about which are the choices that are there before you, and corresponding to each choice, what are the choice means the different lines of action, and corresponding to each of the lines of action, what are the risks? The risks in terms of the time or the cost involved, or it could be the probability for failure in each of these different alternate paths, and so on. Then you prioritize the risk, and then you choose and take a decision. You take an informed decision. So I have myself seen in ISRO itself many times even very important decisions like whether to go forward with a launch or not being taken. I mean, weighing the different risks that are involved. So that is why technical decision making essentially needs experience, insight, innovativeness, etc. And then there is another factor which is very much important, which is actually boldness. I mean, technical decision making is something that requires courage. Another aspect that I would like to highlight is about meetings. there is a lot of wisdom in meetings. That is one thing that in ISRO also considers meetings as very important. There are different kinds of meetings like peer reviews or brainstorming sessions or review meetings at higher levels, expert reviews, and so on. So what happens is that the impartial third eye view, a fresh perspective that another person brings, an expert brings to the review process, is actually invaluable. Many of the hidden errors or mistakes or things will emerge when that impartial third eye view comes. And experience, definitely experience always speaks, isn't it? So that the importance of that collective decision making in technical decision making is very important. Now I'll move forward to another area, which is about resilience. Now, what is resilience? Resilience is actually the ability to withstand setbacks, isn't it? Withstand any setback or failure. Now, again, we can see that setbacks are inevitable. They will happen. There can be small or big. They can be small ones, like your design not working right the first time you are attempting a demonstration. Or, or it could be that the different inputs that you require, some of those inputs are not manifesting, or it could be a big mistake, a setback like the total mission failure. I mean, every organization will have to face such big failures as well. ISRO has also had its share of such big failures, mission failures. So then what do you do to deal with the setbacks? Now, again, there are different things like if it is a failure, then of course find out what went wrong and the core issue, the root cause, and then solve it. Or sometimes you may have to, you will find a setback as you go forward on one path. Then maybe you have to look around for some workaround solutions or take an alternative route to the same destination and so on. Or it could be that you have to give up on the particular thing and then go for another option as it, go for another design or another decision and so on. Now, it is true that STEM education also trains students usually to face setbacks. That's why they are given many projects, and it's possible that they have to face such setbacks on the road to their project completions. So essentially, the main tip is that always we must have contingency plans ready, and then one has to be flexible. I mean, you cannot take the stand that this is the way I will do it, this is the only way that I will do. That cannot be. So that's another thing. Now, there are many such aspects that I would like to bring, but I'll just now highlight some four more points, which let us think of as some general points. So the one thing that I would like to first mention is that in your technical career, it's been my experience also that whatever you do, whether it is a very small or a big project, whatever you do will be of use to you much beyond your expectation. It could be a particular design, it could be a training that you have taken, it could be some technology that you have trained yourself in, anything. It could be a tool that you have familiarized with. Whatever you do will be of use, will come to be of use to you. So let me again share an experience, my own story for this. I remember that when I first started my technical career, the very first month, one of the work that I had to do was to develop, I was in the software development area, was to develop a particular software, piece of software code, which was to take input from the user, and then check against all sorts of errors that a user may make, and then take out the value from that, from the user input. It's a small module. I thought that I was developing that for that particular project for which in which I was working at that time. But it so happened that afterwards, about a year later, there was another mission for which there was a requirement for taking input like that. So this was one module that I could just seamlessly take and fit it. And it so happened that this was continuing across so many years and so many missions. And I tell you that same software piece of code is even now being utilized. It's being incorporated into systems that are still in operation. Still in operation. So that's one experience. So then, what is the tip from this? I would like to say that we have to approach every project, small or big, with thinking that it is precious and with full sincerity, and applying the design principles that we talked about. The second tip that I would like to say is about Murphy's law. That has been proved that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I mean, so much experience we have about this. There could be that in so there could be in software, again coming to the software example itself, there could be one path in the software which will have to be taken only if a number of conditions are satisfied. But be sure that that path will be taken one day. So if there is any error in that path, that's definitely going to manifest. So then what is the, how do you equip yourself against this? How do you guard against this? We have to design with always with fallback options, build redundancy and such things, fallback options. And even it comes to backing up your work. I mean, such simple things are also applicable here because anything may go wrong. Another thing is about automating work practices. Now, whatever be your area of work, there will be certain things that you practice in a common level, generally, regularly, you will be practicing. So, whatever, wherever possible, if you can automate those work practices, that will save you a lot of time, and you will thank yourself later. Uh, Time and freedom to put your mind elsewhere. That's what you get out of this. That's very important. And again, another point about the tools that you use in your work. Now, I don't mean the mechanical tools that you use only. It is also about design tool, perhaps a design tool like computer aided design kind of a tool, or it could be a simulator, or it could be any kind of tool that you use. You have to sort of learn at least one system well. Okay, one design tool, one simulator, one programming language, one operating system, one debugger, one word processor, one software to generate presentations like this. I mean, anything which you can master, at least one system that will again be of great use to you throughout your career. Okay, so that is about the general point. So till now we have been dealing with technical work. Now there is I was also involved in techno managerial area for some years. So I would like to share some tips about the tech management now. So what is technical management? This again, like any management, this is also about planning, deciding about what is to be done, and then allocating and getting all the resources that are necessary, then tracking the progress and solving the issues as they arise and so on. There are many things connected with the management activities. So all the general management skills are needed. And along with that, the technical management, technical skills as well are important in technical management. Now, but here I would like to stress only 3 points. One is the need to plan ahead. Now, this is something an ISRO also thinks of great importance and gives high priority for this. That is, you plan not only for the next year, the annual plan, but also plan for 10 years, the next 10 years, next 20 years, the next 30 years, and so on. What should be the projects that you should be working on? So correspondingly, what are the technologies that have to be developed? Then what are the infrastructure requirements, the human resources that you need, everything. Planning much ahead. So that because many of these technologies have a long lead time. So you have to then sort of plan backwards and see how your present work is going to get position in this long plan, long-term planning, and how the infrastructure, everything must build up towards your long-term plan as well as the short-term plan. So that is very important. Then, as I said, all the normal leadership roles are applicable here also. Then another point that I would like to highlight is about organization's culture. Now, you know that every organization has a culture, isn't it? It's the culture of the organization that sort of defines how the work will be done. So, what will be the way the teams will be working or they will be interacting, and how are the interfaces defined? What are the standards to which the employees will sort of conform to? All these are defined by the organization's culture. So the building the organization culture is something that must be done in a very conscious manner. So this involves again many things like ensuring that fairness, merit being rewarded, these things are actually not only done, but also they are visibly done. Things should be very clearly visible. keeping norms and conforming to them. Again, uh, making that these things are very visible. All these contribute towards the organization building. And here I would like to also highlight one thing, that is, when you expect high standards, not only in performance, in character, in everything, when you expect that, the chances are that you will get it. So that also sort of evolves from the organization culture. So coming to the sort of to the end of my presentation now, as I promised, there will be some more tips for the STEM students, for the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics students. Now, here, some of the things that we talked about during the different patterns are applicable to students also, but I would like to highlight a few things. One is that in science and technology, it is often said that you have to be a lifelong learner, which is true. You have to keep on learning new things as you go ahead in your work throughout your life, because things are changing, things are evolving. Technology is always evolving, isn't it? So you have to need to continuously learn new things. But at the same time, the basics of your particular discipline, the basic knowledge, the basic tools, the best time to learn those are the student days themselves. So when you are a student, uh, learn the basics well. That will equip you to really fly in any direction that you want to fly later. So that is one thing. The next thing is that you have to build different skills as well, not only the technical knowledge but different skills. We saw some of the skills during the presentation itself, like communication skills, being able to work in a team, building resilience, logical thinking, all those. I mean, such skills, and along with that, the technical skills also you need to develop. And another thing that I would like to highlight is that in science and technology, increasingly is an area where multiple disciplines have to work together and interact. So it's an area where one needs to be humble. Like, you should be ready to learn from anybody. You should be able to look outside of the boundaries of your own discipline, look at other disciplines and learn from them. And you need to work with other disciplines and so on. So that interlocking circles that is shown, that sort of shows the way that you will be working. You will be applying yourself in one core area, but at the same time interacting with many other disciplines. So you need to open up your boundaries. That is the core tip there. Then finally, I would like to talk about one more thing, which is actually not only applicable to science and technology, but to any area of work, to life in general, which is to say that your work is your signature into this world, isn't it? It's not just about something earning your livelihood or doing a job. It's about how indicate you mark or how you indicate your existence into this world. So you have to be very clear and very conscious about defining yourself correctly in this world. So, what does that mean? What does it entail? It means it has many dimensions, like the approach to dedication, that what you will bring to the table. So, when you are working in a team, what is your approach to dedication? Your approach is that due to you, nothing should happen. Like, no deadline should be missed because of you, and nothing should not work which is in your area. I mean, if that is your approach to dedication. Then it also entails many other dimensions, like not only the goal but the way to the goal also being very important. And I can tell you that when everyone in a team acts this way, then it becomes a very synergic team, and things just like that work. So that is sort of in a nutshell my tips to the STEM students. And I would like to also mention that science and technology is a very exciting place to be in. It's also a place which actually rewards, because you make something, you make your system, your subsystem, and then you fit it into the big project. It works, the mission gets accomplished, you get instant satisfaction, isn't it? So science and technology is an area where you get satisfaction also easily, I'd like to say. Thank you.
Right. Wow. Thank you, Ms Jaya. When
Yeah.
your sharing was really good and really meaningful to me. It serves as a timely reminder for me, working in Science Center Singapore. as like a reminder to how I should manage my projects and also my events as well. And I think this is also applicable to all the students or all the working adults that are actually watching our show right now. In fact, the Chief Executive of Science Center Singapore, Prof. Lim, he would like to say thank you, right, for your very practical advice, because these
Yes,
are things that
thank
I
you.
think it really serves to help us in our work and to make sure that as a company, as a whole group, right, we continue pushing forward, right, to break the boundaries or beyond boundaries like how our event is, right, to make it so that we can achieve our goal. And I think one particular slide that is very important that we should also cultivate is the slide on resilience. Right. Sometimes I feel that it's like being successful or having a smooth sailing project management experience. It's not the main thing that we want to look out for, but rather it's the ability to kind of recover from
Yes.
your mistakes and also from all the changes that you also mentioned about the being prepared to always receive continuous changes and make continuous improvement. And I think that's something that we have to always keep in mind. All right. Okay. So that being said, right, actually, some of us have some questions for Ms. Jia, because I understand
Sure.
that, in fact, from your sharing, right, I think you really have a lot of experience. And if I am not wrong, you have up more than 3 decades of experience working in the ISRO, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's really
nearly
long.
three decades. Yes.
Only 3 decades, yes. So, all right. So we actually have a viewer by the name of Raj. He's actually asking this question, which also I want to ask as well, is that what projects were you involved in while you're working in Indian Space Research Organization, and what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced? Hmm.
Okay. As I mentioned, I was actually my career in ISRO can be divided into two. Like I was in the technical developing area as well as in techno managerial area. When I look at the technical area, what I was working primarily was with the navigation systems. You know what are the navigation systems in a rocket, and these were primarily towards the rockets, the launch vehicles of ISRO. So the navigation are those systems which tell you where you are. Okay, it's very much
Hmm.
required for the rocket because you should know where you are in order so that you can then devise how to go to where you want to go. So the navigation systems are there in each launch vehicle. So I was in that particular area in which these navigation systems require what are called automated systems, checkout systems we call them, which are required in order to completely check the health of the systems as well as to calibrate them and do other required processes so that the systems become ready for the mission. So I was involved in the development of these systems, both the software development, the system development, the long-term maintenance. Then there are other things like the data management and other connected activities. That is the primary area, and there were other related areas as well. And coming to the second part of the question about the biggest challenges that I faced. Now, every mission was a challenge because I was there involved from the one of the first launch vehicles of ISRO, the augmented satellite launch vehicle, then going forward to the Polar satellite launch vehicle, the PSLV, and incidentally, it had another successful mission today. You might have seen it. PSLV C-49 had a successful launch today.
Hmm.
So I was involved in the initial launches of PSLV. So that time we were actually learning the systems, then building the systems from scratch for the first time. So that is always a real challenge. It is easier when you get into a mission or a project in the middle, like you join later. But building systems from scratch has always been a challenge. And another challenge is one which I mentioned actually, that is about that designing for change, because it so happens that even these launch vehicle missions will be there one after the other. And each mission is not a copy of the other mission. There will be many things which are new, which are sort of only applicable to that particular mission. So when you are working in the area of designing systems for these missions, then it becomes a challenge that how to go on incorporating the changes which are required for each mission. And at the same time, there will be new missions coming up. So you have to uh, give your attention to those also where you are building from scratch. So that has been one of the biggest challenges. And this designing for change, which I told you about, it has many aspects that has really been of great help to me
Hmm. Hmm.
in facing that.
Yes, I agree too. I think also with respect to the part on be prepared, being prepared for changes, I think that's
Mm,
something that we must always be aware that we cannot just be comfortable at where we are and expect everything to run smoothly. And I guess the biggest challenge is to be always ready for more challenges ahead of us.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes. Okay, just one last question, and we have a commenter by the name of just student. So I think he's a student viewing our podcast or conversation right now. He or she is asking how to think quickly when something goes wrong and we are not prepared for it. All right, I think there's something that a lot of us will find it relevant because also like I think one of the slides you shared earlier is that
Yeah,
things that can go wrong will go wrong. So something along the line of like Murphy's law. So yes, any advice or suggestions to our
yeah,
student here?
sure. The my tip will be that you don't expect yourself to think quickly. It's difficult when you suddenly face a problem. Thinking quickly about all the different dimensions will be very difficult for anybody. So then what you should do, you should think before. I mean, uh, when you're designing a particular project, let's think in terms of a particular mission or a project or anything that you're going to do. Well, before that particular event, when you have time, you can sit down and think about what all could go wrong. Isn't it? It's possible. You can visualize what all could go wrong. What are the different aspects, different scenarios that can happen. And then for corresponding to each scenario of failure, then what are the things that you have to do? You can even keep
Mm,
clear checklist before you.
mm,
Tell you that if you can really think through in all dimensions of a particular thing and then have your checklist ready, then whatever actual failures that manifest, most of them you'll be able to fit into this template that you already have ready. Okay,
mm,
so that will be the best trick. Do you know that before any rocket launch, there is a countdown process, isn't it? It goes on
mhm,
counting down. So what is really that is that there are certain operations which could should have to be done at specific periods of time. The countdown is evolved in incorporating those activities. Now, before the actual start of the countdown itself, at every step, what could go wrong is also thought about. It's actually thought about, and what are the corrective actions needed is also well defined early. So that when something happens, you don't need to think. You need to only adopt the corresponding procedure, which is already you have defined in a well thought out manner. So that is my tip for you.
mm. Yes, that sounds very how I put it, like a person who has worked from a space agency because I remember hearing the news where uh, when every rocket launch, there are a lot of processes and sequence to be prepared,
Yeah,
and every steps there might be certain points where there may be a possible point of failure, and you'll have to be prepared for that, right? So
yeah,
that's why you really have to make proper plans, right, to and contingency plans, right, to handle any difficulties along the way.
yeah.
Mm,
So, but that's applicable everywhere, isn't it? Even for
yes.
this particular meeting, I'm sure that Mr. Tan would have thought about what are the different things that can malfunction. The network may fail,
Mm,
the screen may not share,
mm.
and you would have already taken the corrective actions for that, isn't
Yes, and
it?
actually for that I have a team. I have a team prepared to help me. So it's not so also it's not just me, it's really a group of team, right, working like how you mentioned earlier in one of the slides. Okay, so just
Fine.
to one last question, and this question is also from the Chief Executive of Science Center Singapore. So he asked, Prof. Lim asked, what are some good tricks to learn quickly the language or concepts outside your main domains you majored in, especially when you're in a team of diverse experts, right? I think this is something quite relevant today as we have more and more projects that are cross-disciplinary. Mm,
You are asking whether what are the tricks to learn something fast,
mm.
isn't it?
Yes, there's something that's
Uh,
out of your norm or of your main niche of skill set.
yeah.
Mm,
Uh, Naturally, when you're working in a multidisciplinary area, you will get exposed to other requirements. That is one thing. There are certain things where you have to learn what the other person is doing and then support for that. Your task may be to support that. For example, if you are doing a particular control system, maybe, and you are writing the generating the control algorithm for that, then you definitely have to learn what the system is, how it is behaving, what are the different possibilities. So there it's a requirement, you have to learn. Otherwise, I would say that the trick is only to be flexible. I mean, don't think that I can remain inside my discipline boundary. That's simply not possible. And other thing is that there are many things which overlap.
Mm,
Across the different technology disciplines or science disciplines, there are many things which are overlapping. So the same skills that you learned for one particular discipline are definitely applicable to the other. So the so long as you are sort of open-minded and flexible, it's not really a problem to learn something else. I mean,
mm,
the catchword is only to be flexible and be ready to learn. That's all. It's
yes.
not difficult.
I see. I agree with that too. It's like learning is really a lifelong process also. So I
Yeah.
think we shouldn't be always too focused on just studying one subject. Sometimes we also need to have a little bit of breadth, right, to give us more general knowledge as well. Hmm. All right,
Yeah.
so thank you so much, Ms Jaya. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable tips and experiences, right? And especially all those project management skills and also the mindset that we should have when it comes to learning, teamwork, and also just project management as well. So we come to the end of the
Thank you.
podcast. I'd just like to thank everyone for tuning in, and also to remember to hashtag UntamedSG in your social media posts. So names of all the lucky winners from this event, right, will be posted to our Untamed Facebook page, and so do keep a lookout on that. All right, and with that, thank you, and remember, when it comes to STEM, nothing is beyond boundaries.